Hello, Management 1010 Interdisciplinary Leadership students for the spring 2013 semester. It's been a while since I talked to you, and we've got some grades posted and a test coming up. If I can switch over here. And so I thought that I would talk to you. The most important headline here, test number 1 is coming, right? But I do have a couple things here to talk to you about. Okay, so first of all, what I want you to do is to refer to that schedule that I gave you at the start of the semester. You know why? Because at this point in the semester, we're getting close to the halfway mark, and you just need to, pat yourself on the back and see what a truly great job you've done. We've covered our chapters. You've watched movies like 12 O'Clock High and Hotel Rwanda. Now you've just finished Iron-Jawed Angels, which, as I say in your instructions, one of my favorite movies, an excellent movie. And of course you have a little bit of ways to go, right? Because here we are already in March. As I record this, we're on March the 3rd, which is interesting that we're doing Iron-Jawed Angels at this particular time because we're celebrating the anniversary of the March 3rd parade, which you saw in the movie. And I'm actually going to send you a link to an article on this because it includes some snapshots that of the real parade. And so now that you have this basis, I think you might find it very interesting. Now, since we are in March and you see that we're looking ahead, I know that spring break is on the horizon, but before you get out and take your break for spring break, it's important that we first complete exam number 1. And as as you can even see on your schedule here, it's going to cover chapters 1 through 6. Now, just in case you're saying, where is this schedule? But like I say, look at all this work you've done, which is part of my point here. If I go over to pause and I'm in our course and I'm under quizzes, you can see that here's your Unit 6 quiz, which you're working on this week right up until March the 6th. And on March the 7th, your exam, that's Thursday, March the 7th, your exam will be open to you. And it will be open until March the 11th. However, there are some rules. You do not have this entire time period to take the test, right? There is a time limit that will be enforced as soon as you click the link to start the exam. You might also notice a little lock next to the exam, and you might wonder what that's about. Well, that's because the exam is password protected. Why is it password protected? Because you only have one attempt. You have not used any of your attempts yet, and you will have exactly one attempt. That's different from your quizzes where you have unlimited attempts, right? Okay. Let's go through the full instructions, and that's what I want to tell you about. If you come to the content link, clicking content, it's going to take me just a minute here. Well, okay, there we are. Okay, look at all this stuff that you've done, and you still have access to, the syllabus, the schedule, so you can go through, and here's all your chapter instructions, and now you come down here to exam number 1 instructions. Now, I'm going to click on this link for the instructions, and I encourage you to be very patient with this. This can take a little time to display on your screen, so please be patient. Now, once it displays on the screen, it can be a little bit difficult to read inside of this little window here. There is a way to save this. Oh, they've changed this up on me. Look at that. Well, there is a way to save this to your desktop, and if I'd have realized that this had changed a little bit, then I might have looked at that before before I started this video. But you can look at this and you can figure out how to either save it to your desktop or else. See this little print button here? You can print it, and I would certainly do that so that you have this with you. Now, let me walk through these instructions. Notice it's 2 pages, so make sure you're reading both pages. This is when the test becomes available, and this is when it must be completed. Now notice that I call this the window of availability. However, Time limits do apply once the test is started. Sorry about that, once the test is started. So we're going to continue to read. Now, one note of caution, because this is your very first test in this course, I want you to be very, very aware of this 11:55 p.m. cutoff. And I want you to understand that if you're calling it so close that you're emailing me and you're saying to me, wait a minute, I thought, my clock on my computer clearly said 11:50, and you said that the test would let us in there until 11:55, but it knocked me out. You know what that means? You know it. It means that your clock is wrong, right? So you don't want to be in that situation. Thus, my note in red to you, everyone's clock is slightly different. You need to plan to be completed well in advance of this Monday due date. My tip to you for success: try to take the test Thursday. If you cannot take the test Thursday, take it Friday. Maybe you need the weekend to really sit down and concentrate on this. Okay, then take it Saturday. But if you delay until Sunday and Monday, this is when disasters occur. When you email me Monday night and you tell me that you don't have access to a computer, you're emailing me from your smartphone or something like this, and you can't get to a computer, on Monday night that's a problem. On Thursday, it's not a problem. On Friday, it's not a problem, because you know that you have time to make arrangements to take the test, at a different computer at a different location. It only becomes a problem if you're waiting until the last minute. So avoid that. And folks, the reason I emphasize that, man, that's the #1 problem that people run into, is they wait until the last minute, and it causes all kinds of problems. Okay. You have exactly one attempt on this test. Now, let me be really clear about this. It doesn't matter how you use up that one attempt. If you use up the one attempt, then it's over. Okay? So once you begin the test, that means that it's used, so you need to finish that test. Okay? There are no retakes. Now, what did that say? It says there are no retakes. It does not say there are retakes under certain circumstances. It says there are no retakes. Need to be crystal clear. I don't want to be mean to you, but I want you to hear me that this is a test, and I expect you to take it seriously. High points here, right? Okay, so for example, let's say you go into the library right before it closes. I've had students do this, and they kick you out of the library, and you had to end your test. That was your one attempt. Okay? What if you sit down into a classroom, you start, on campus, you start your test, and an instructor comes in and says, we're about to begin class, you have to go. That was your one attempt, right? What if you're at home and your internet connection drops? Well, if you have a problem with that, and your computer tends to act up on you, and you have all these issues, then that may not be the place to take it, okay? Because that has used up your one attempt. Now, I say if you're the victim of a lightning strike, a computer crashing, earthquake, fire, pestilence, locust swarm you, one attempt, and that was it. The reason for that is, folks, I'm not there with you, and I understand that students crash these tests on purpose for all different reasons, hoping to get a second attempt or a third attempt, and that's not fair to the people who are going at it legitimately. So since I'm not with you, since this is a take-home test, right, and I don't require that you come to campus, then you accept the responsibility of making really sure that that you're doing this well. Now, if there's any concern, if you have any doubt in your mind, then what I would do is, look at the operating hours, and remember that you're kind of getting into the beginning of spring break here. So check with the library about their hours. Check with the classrooms to see when you can get in there to sit and take a test, if you want to make sure that you use a reliable computer at the college with a reliable internet connection. Right? So that will give you some support there. So during the semester, if you experience a problem on 2 tests, then guess what? One of those will be a score of 0, and you only have 1 drop grade. So if you get 2 zeros, then you're in trouble. That's what I'm saying here, right? Again, read this. I'm not reading it through to you. What I'm doing is explaining to you how serious this is. One of which is These are the deadlines for taking the test, and you have to be done well in advance of this. Common problems are people waiting for the last minute. Another common problem is one attempt, and people do tend to not take it seriously. I've had people who tell me they started the test and then they left to go to church. Well, that's going to use up the time allocated to you in that one attempt, and there goes your one attempt. So when you get ready to take the test, you need to have the same attitude as you would in a classroom. It's serious. You're going to sit down, you're going to start it, you're going to finish it all in one sitting without getting up. Get your Coca-Cola, your Mountain Dew, your Pepsi, your Diet Pepsi, whatever it is, and do it in one take. Have your book ready. Have it with you. Have it open. Don't start the test and then say, "Where is my book?" I've had students email me that. "I started the test, Dr. Joan, and then I could not find my book." Well, why did you begin it? Because you've got to be organized. Sometimes students will even put little post-it notes to mark the beginning of each chapter. You might, so I've taken pencils before, and I just drop a pencil or a pen in on a certain page. But whatever helps you to find certain sections easily is probably going to be beneficial. Now, as you go through and do this and pause, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to save as you go. Hopefully you have experience with this from the quizzes, right? So this testing process, in that case, is not new to you. The one attempt is new to you. So when you make an answer, click the Save button. If you wait until the very end, I have seen this happen to students. A student had finished the test. She was looking over the test. While she was looking over her answers, and she had not saved anything, the computer rebooted. There was some kind of software update, and the computer rebooted. And all her answers were lost. And that was her one attempt. She probably would have scored very well had she simply saved her responses. Okay? So I want to be serious with you. I don't want to be hard on you, but I want to be serious with you so that you do well on this. Now, here's the time limit. Once you begin that test, you have 120 minutes. That's 2 hours. I don't think it will take you that long, but it might. Okay? Be well organized, plan to go through it quickly. But what I do want you to understand is that once you click the test and you start it, the clock will not stop for any reason. It just does not stop. And that's, just like a classroom test. You come in and you say to the teacher, "Can I have my test?" And the teacher hands you the test. You don't say, "Oh, listen, I'm going to go to work now." Right? You don't do that. You finish the test and then, one sitting and it's done. Plan to complete it in a single sitting. When you are finished, this is another common mistake, don't forget to click the Submit button. You have got to submit your work. Now, there are 41 questions. Most of them are worth 2 points. There are just a couple questions that are worth 5 points each. Okay? You'll see the point value up there, and 41 questions at 120 minutes. Well, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to type in 120 minutes, right? 41 questions. And then I'm simply going to divide 120 by 41. That means you have nearly 3 minutes, definitely more than 2 minutes per question, right? Okay, well, some questions you're going to be able to answer very quickly. Some questions are going to take you just a little bit longer because you might have to look up something in your textbook. So 3 minutes is probably ample time, and I think you can do that, all right? The questions are going to come from the pool of questions that you've been looking at as part of your work on the quizzes. If you took the Chapter 2 quiz 10 times, you have probably seen all the questions in the pool. So that was good for you because you were studying and you were preparing. The questions are randomly chosen. The order of the answers is random. The order of the question is random. So read everything very carefully. As part of your preparation, since it comes from the same pool of questions as was used in your quizzes, maybe you want to go back and review your chapter quizzes. Maybe you want to print those off and organize them. These are just ideas for you. Okay. Now, I've emphasized one attempt, that there is a time limit, and so of course you don't want to start the test by accident. So I've put a password on the test. When you click on the link for the test, it's going to say, what is the password? You are going to type in exactly as you see it here, good luck. All lowercase, all one word. Do not space. Good luck pushed all together, lowercase. Okay. Once again, a reminder, save your responses, submit your work. Then your question to me is, but what about my grade? Well, here's what I want to avoid. If you are, a student who's worked very, very hard and you get a good grade on the test, I don't want you to feel pressure from anyone else who may be saying, well, what did you get? And help me, and what are your questions? And show me. So here's what we do. We're going to delay the grade, see this, until the day after the test. So your test is due March the 11th. You'll be able to see your grade as of March the 12th. And yes, you will be able to see your answers to the questions. You'll know what you got right and what you got wrong. In that way, if you happen to see a mistake, and I do make mistakes every now and then, you can bring that to my attention. I'll be glad to look at it. It's possible there could be something you just didn't understand. And you know what? That's a good question too, because by talking about it, we clarify that point of understanding. Okay, so I'm glad to look at something if you think there's a problem. I do ask, however, that you email me the entire question. Don't tell me to go look at number 3. Everybody's number 3 is different, okay? So include it in the question. That's a professional courtesy so that I can look at it, you can look at it, and then explain to me. Don't just say, that one's wrong, that one was graded wrong. No. If B was marked as the correct answer and you think it was A, explain to me why you think B was wrong and why you think A was correct. You see what I'm saying? This is just a simple business discussion, and you guys can do this. I have great confidence in you. Okay, I really do. I really do. Okay, so this just gives you a note about the the delay of the grades and how to review your grades. So put it on your calendar so that you're going to do well. If you've been doing the quizzes, especially if you have been doing the quizzes repeatedly, then you're going to be all right. If you've been reading the book, I know my book is filled with highlights where I see an interesting phrase or something that relates to a question and I highlight it. I'm sure that you've been taking notes. Some people don't like to mark in the book. If you don't like to highlight in your book, write notes, as you're reading. Hopefully you're doing that, and I see students doing that all the time. So I do wish you, the reason that I chose the password of good luck is because I wish to you good luck. I know that you can do it, and I know you can do a good job, and I hope that you agree there's no tricks here, okay? This is just very straightforward. If you've been doing, I'm going to go back to the quizzes link. If you've been doing your chapter quizzes and pause, then you've been looking at the questions, and of course you can review those. The exam is very similar, the difference being one attempt, and of course it is timed, right? Where do you get the instructions? You're going to go back to content, okay? And scroll down and exam number 1 instructions. And I encourage you to print that or to save it, so that you have ready access to that, okay? All right, the final thing on my list is to talk to you about writing assignment number 3, which was about iron-jawed angels. The grades are posted for that. There were 2 extremes as I did the grading. There were those who just really, really got it and made great scores, top scores, and then there were those who kind of fell more into the midway category. And I can tell you what the difference is. So in terms of general feedback, let me give you general feedback, okay? The most important thing I can tell you, tip number 1 for success, is your response must clearly demonstrate your understanding of what? Here we go. The readings, the application of the readings to the example in the movie. Okay? Here's what I want you to see about this. If I could tell you tip number 2, Tip number 2 for success. If you didn't write it down in your response, I can't grade it. Okay? This is what I mean by this. Never ask your teacher to assume the connection. The connection specifically between the readings and the application of the movie, because you know, some of you know what they say about when you assume. Well, what they say is that somebody's going to be wrong, okay? So either you or me is going to be wrong, and we don't want that to happen. So make sure that you explain it. You know, this word demonstrate your understanding. That is really, really important, okay? You know, tip number 3 for success, sometimes brief responses result in brief scores, brief points, right? I should say, actually, instead of sometimes, almost all the time, brief responses result in brief points. In other words, low points. You know why? It takes a lot of time to write a concise response. You have to edit and go back and reread and then look at it and say, did I clearly convey, and then reread and reread. And I think the whole reason that you're giving me a brief response is because you don't really want to invest that kind of time, right? So what that means is that when you're writing in this very brief response, that you missed a part of the instruction, and this was a common problem, or that you forgot to give a clear example, or more importantly, that relates to the readings, okay? So, you know, a lot of what I was asking you for was show me where a concept from the reading was demonstrated in the movie. And oftentimes, folks, the responses I got were very along the line of, yeah, I saw it. Okay, not good enough, not good enough. You have to tell me. When I'm asking you, I cannot grade you on, well, I can grade you. I can grade you on, you're saying, yeah, it was there. Okay, that says nothing. So you're not going to get points for that, right? I'm not trying to be mean with you. I really want, if you're watching the movies, and if you're reading the textbook, it's a matter of taking the time to clearly give the example. And what I saw is that those people who took that time to really explain it, to answer all parts of the question, to reread the question, make sure they got it right, did very well. Those people who wrote briefly, now let me tell you, I had one person who wrote very briefly and got a perfect score because their responses were spot on. They were well thought out. Every word was applicable. There was no wasted sentence or wasted verbiage. And to write like that takes practice, and it takes time, even for very well practiced people. So I would try to err on the side of giving depth to what I'm saying. The common reason that you're not doing well in that case is you've got to develop the thought so clearly that I, your instructor, whoops, I misspelled that, didn't I? Instructor, am assured that you got it. Okay? In other words, convince me. The job is on you. Convince me. Okay? And I know you can do it. You're just going to have to take some time to put into it. And these are great movies and powerful concepts. And if you really, you know, delve into it, I think that you'll be able to express that in your writing. Okay? So, what is my final thought for you is hang in there. Okay? Stay strong. Stay focused, plan your time, and most of all, be safe over spring break, okay? Make sure you get, before you leave for spring break, right, do well on test number 1. Just kind of relax and follow the instructions. Make sure you're reading the instructions, and you'll do well. You can do it, folks. Don't get discouraged. Hang in there. Stay strong. We're at the halfway point. Keep pushing yourself up that hill and striving to do your best. You can do it. Thanks so much.